Righty-ho. Now we're up to David, Luke and Tom, who are going to talk to us about simplifying local government reforms.
Yeah, kia ora. Good morning. Yes, so we're here to talk to you about the Simplifying Local Government proposal that was released by the government last week. And they have also released a consultation document that seeks feedback on these proposals that is due on 20th February next year. In short, the consultation document proposes significant reforms for local government by disestablishing regional councils as we know them and putting in place new structures to govern the regions. The purpose of this session is to run through with you the key elements of the proposals, and we will also share with you our initial advice on the proposal and what possible credible future scenarios of local government could look like at a high level for Christchurch. Overall, our position on the proposals that we'll discuss with you today and in the future is set in the foundations of what is summarised in this slide. So we think that Christchurch should be ready to lead this reform, ready to collaborate with the government and our regional partners, and ready to design a new future system that works. Christchurch is the second largest urban centre in New Zealand and the South Island's metropolitan anchor. We're also the largest council impacted by these proposed reforms. So we need a model that matches our scale, strengthens our strategic role and improves the outcomes for our residents and ratepayers. So the proposal, what is it? So there are two steps in the proposed reforms, which I'll describe in more detail in a moment, but these are step one, replacing regional councils with a board of mayors. And step two is producing a regional reorganisation plan, which will determine how local government in the region will operate. The reforms are being proposed because the government considers that there are too many layers of local government, which leads to duplication, confusion and inefficiencies. So the intent of the reforms is to simplify local government by consolidating the decision making. This should reduce duplication, align regional decision making and create efficiencies. So step one. So step one replaces regional councils with combined territories boards or CTBs. So members of the board will be the mayors from each of the region's city and district councils. The philosophy is that the mayors are elected to represent their territory, and they can also do this in a regional context in this new structure without the need for another layer of elected representation. The boards would meet regularly and govern on regional issues, just like a council would, and they would take over the roles and functions of regional councils. So this would mean managing rivers, lakes, marine areas, air quality, regional transport planning, public transport, managing assets, implementing treaty commitments, civil defence and emergency management, and environmental regulation and resource management as well. Throughout the existence of the CTB, regional council staff and their operations would continue to function. So how would this board make decisions? Well, the proposal suggests two options for decision making. Option one is that every mayor on the board gets one vote. So the risk with this option is that mayors of smaller towns or areas with lower populations will get the same voting power as a mayor of a city who would represent more people. So therefore, arguably, mayors of smaller towns would have a disproportionate influence over the decisions. Option two is a proportionate voting method. So this is where a mayor's vote and influence would be proportionate to the population that they represent. The consultation paper notes that under this approach, some adjustments would have to be made for smaller councils to ensure that their voice is still heard. A risk is that this could allow for larger councils to dominate the decision making, but it would be more representative of the population. And you'll note there on the slide that currently we estimate Christchurch makes up about 60% of the population in the region. There are a couple of alternatives on the table as well in the consultation document. So the government has also signalled that there is a stronger role potentially for central government in this new board structure through the use of a Crown Commissioner. So the consultation document proposes 3 possible roles for a Crown Commissioner that would sit on the board. They're on the left-hand side of the slide there. So a Crown Commissioner would have the same responsibilities as a regional councillor would, but their influence on decisions would be different. They would either be an observer only, which means they would participate in the discussions but wouldn't have any voting power. They could have a veto power, which means the Crown Commissioner could override decisions of the board. Or the Crown Commissioner could also have a majority vote, so essentially holding more than 50% of the total votes on the board. The consultation document also mentions one more option, which is to have no CTB board at all, and the Crown could instead appoint a Crown Commissioner or commissioners to govern the region instead. So under this option, that would mean no role for mayors or councils during this transition period. So that's step 1. Step 2. So within 2 years of the board forming, the board must develop a regional reorganisation plan. According to ministers, this is where the real change comes. A regional reorganisation plan is essentially how councils in the region will work together effectively and efficiently in the future. Or in other words, it is the opportunity for the region to determine the structure of its local government. This will mean discussions with councils across the region about topics like shared services, amalgamation, unitary council functions, and the size and number of councils in the region. Minister Bishop has indicated that in Canterbury, he expects this work to be led by Christchurch, Selwyn, and Waimakariri. The plan must map regional and local functions, identify any overlaps, and recommends the best delivery model for the region. I know that the government has also said that they will, before the CTBs are set up, that they will review the roles and functions of regional councils to help clarify what could remain a local role, what roles might become centralised, and what roles might be discontinued. The reorganisation plans developed by the boards must be consulted on. They'll get independently reviewed by the Local Government Commission and then approved by the Local Government Minister. There is no one-size-fits-all plan, and it is up to each region to decide its own structure. The future of the boards will be determined by the outcomes of the regional reorganisation plan. So the plan might disband the CTB for a new structure, or the regions could also choose to keep the boards. So that's an overview of the key elements of the proposed reforms, and I'm going to hand over to Luke now to talk about our advice.
So in short, we support the intent behind what the government's trying to achieve. Simplification, less duplication, and better performance across the region are the right goals. Christchurch has been calling for this more integrated, better aligned system for quite a long time. However, we consider that the mechanism proposed, the CTB, is unlikely to get us there. So instead of speeding up decision making, our advice is that this is likely to slow things down, fragment decision making further, and introduce new layers of regional politics. So while the intent is sound, we don't consider that the structure provides a credible pathway to that reform that they're looking for. So we don't think this transitional process is appropriate for Christchurch. So it effectively places our long-term governance future into a negotiation between mayors. In our view, that's unlikely to be a durable method for determining the right model for a region of this size. A mayoral forum is generally designed for coordination, not for making generational decisions about governance, infrastructure, environment, and metropolitan growth. So if we rely on a transitional body to set our long-term direction, we think it's very unlikely that the outcome, well, we do think it's likely that the outcome will be a negotiated compromise, not a bold evidence-led solution. So for those reasons, we consider that the transitional structure not suitable for determining Christchurch's future. What we recommend instead, we think that we need a proper governance review, one that's not predetermined, not constrained, not shaped by short-term political bargaining. Christchurch must be able to put forward our own metropolitan and unitary options, and we think those options must be assessed against the right criteria. So, for example, performance, costs, capability, accountability, and whether they operate at a scale of a major city. So what we recommend instead, we think that Christchurch needs to be the architect of its own governance future. It's not appropriate, in our view, for a temporary forum to determine the long-term structure of a city of over 400,000 people. We require a governance model that strengthens and not sidelines the metropolitan centre. So that includes recognising Christchurch's scale, our economic role, our infrastructure load, and the needs of a fast-growing urban population. So the scenarios, got a couple of scenarios. When we strip everything back, there's two credible long-term scenarios for Canterbury, or for Christchurch in particular. The first one's a Christchurch-led unitary council, where Christchurch takes on both city and regional functions within a single accountable organisation. The second is a Greater Christchurch Metro. So that's combining Christchurch District with the metro areas of Selwyn and Waimakariri under one integrated metropolitan authority. So both of these options are serious and they're credible as well, and they can potentially be high performing. So scenario one is the Christchurch-led unitary council. This is where Christchurch becomes both the city and the regional authority. Key advantage is full integration. Land use, transport, water, climate planning, environmental management, and regulatory functions would all sit within one organisation with a single line of accountability back to Christchurch residents and ratepayers. We think this provides clarity, efficiency, and a strong metropolitan leadership. But we've got to bear in mind it does also mean that Christchurch would carry the full responsibility and costs. It would require capability uplift, workforce planning, and careful financial modelling. But in large, this would be a big shift, but it would be coherent and it would provide extra layer of accountability. Scenario two, Greater Christchurch City. So this model would bring Christchurch District, including Banks Peninsula, together with the metro areas of Selwyn and Waimakariri. Essentially, these are the areas where people already live, work, travel, and engage every day. From our perspective, this could resolve much of the duplication that currently exists across the three fast-growing councils. It will enable integrated planning of transport, housing, climate adaptation, and infrastructure as a single urban system. And it increases the collective influence of Greater Christchurch and Banks Peninsula at a national level. But again, it comes with trade-offs. So Christchurch would share metropolitan decision-making, and representation would need to be designed carefully to ensure our scale is properly recognised. Thank you. So what we'll do next, I'll get all of these up there. We consider that the CTB is not a fit-for-purpose transitional mechanism for Canterbury and is unlikely to deliver a credible long-term outcome. So our advice is for Christchurch District to assert its own pathway with a focus on the two most realistic options that we've just outlined, a Greater Christchurch Metro and or a Christchurch Unitary Council. We should proceed with early engagement with Selwyn and Waimakariri to help shape the Greater Christchurch-driven conversation, and also take this conversation directly to ministers. Christchurch should not passively accept a governance future determined by others. We think it's essential that we lead the conversation.
We're at the end. That's good.
Yeah, that's the end.
Very good. I've got to congratulate everyone. You guys fantastic amount of work, and to just say to everyone, this is extremely high level, and it's sort of, we only heard about it, the ink's not even dry on the paper, and they've done a fantastic amount of work to bring this to us, and this is for just us to think about, because we've got a lot of work to do up until Christmas, until the third week in February. So we have some questions, which I'm sure are going to be good. So we'll start with Tyler.
Kia ora, guys. You've answered a lot of mine, but the question on the Super City part, we may be digesting quite a bit of challenges with Selwyn and Waimakariri with their growth and their infrastructural issues. Is there any sort of fiscal economic modelling that are in the ballpark range for what we'd probably be looking at if we were going to go into a unitary or into a greater Christchurch?
Not in hand for us at the moment. That would have to be part of the process.
Okay, sweet. No, that's cool. Thanks so much.
Good work. Thank you. Samuel?
Thank you. Yeah, this is really good. So effectively, what we're saying is we don't necessarily think the approach. We agree with the idea of moving forward with the reform, but actually the way to do it isn't to have necessarily all the mayors kind of determine it because of the natural conflict that'll exist.
Yeah, that's right. Want to avoid parochialism and negotiation for this.
Cool. So how do we see, because I agree with this, and I actually think going to them with some solutions and saying this is what we should do and actually do it quicker would be far more productive and actually save a lot of money for everybody.
Yeah.
Where it's got in their early engagement with our neighbouring councils, how do you see that actually working if the reason we're taking this approach is because we don't think we can come up with a solution together?
Yeah, so that when we're talking about that, we're looking at the Canterbury region, so that would be the 10 councils. However, we're looking at engaging with Waimakariri and Selwyn. So if we're going to put forward a proposal for a unitary, we'd want to be engaging with them. Not unitary, sorry. Greater Metro, we'd want to be engaging with them.
Oh, right. So what we're saying is actually the CTB is the 10 mayors.
Yeah.
We just want to focus on the 3. Yeah. So I guess, is there anything with it? So Huranui wouldn't be relevant. Like we've looked at the mapping and we're pretty comfortable with just the 3.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, the Metro, it does reflect the realities of how people work, live, and the
completely.
interconnection between the communities anyway.
So I'm just thinking ahead. So our submission to government on this will be literally going and saying, look, we think, we like the approach. We like the idea of looking at how we can remove duplication, and actually we think the best way is just to go with one of these 2 options. And can you give us a mechanism to get there as sort of, is that what we're thinking?
So yes, we'll be coming back each week now till Christmas, and then each week in the new year to as we get more information, do the financial costs and the implications and what have you. So this is just the first step of, this is how we suggest we move forward. And if we're moving forward, we'll come back with a step-by-step process of how we're going to do it, and more information each week.
The okay, no, that's really good. The only other thing is the criteria that you talked about. I think is really good. Have we done any work? I just had a conversation with someone the other day that said that they're going to have very, very clear criteria, so that it'll obviously, that people won't be left under any illusion as to what we need to do. Have we had any conversation with DIA yet around their draft criteria, or because if not, then we should just suggest.
Yeah, we had a conversation with them yesterday and are trying to get more clarity out in but they are moving at pace at the same way we are.
Okay.
Cool.
We
are expecting more information.
Yeah. All right. No, good work. That's great.
Victoria, then Pauline.
Thank you. My questions are reduced to 1 now. Thank you, Sam. Do you have any early thoughts on the staggered approach of 1 first and 2 second, or whether we go straight to 2?
Not at the moment. So we haven't weighed out the phasing or what the sort of potential staggering could look like. But that will be part of the upcoming briefings that we've got.
Okay, Pauline. Yep.
Mine's reduced to nearly 0 now. Thank you. But I was going to suggest the same thing. In fact, 2 is a massive piece of work. And if we were to have a preferred option, mine would be 1. And then with a future view to progressing years down the track if we needed to. But I prefer the Christchurch lead approach to describe. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Jake.
Thank you. It's hard to fault your logic on any of this. My only question was going to be, if we're in essence saying let's skip step 1 and head straight to a step 2, whichever it is, that just may not fly. Government may say, no, we're quite fixated on not just the outcome, but the process of getting there. So we just need to be adaptive. But it sounds like from what you've said, Mary, we'll be reassessing on a weekly basis by the sounds of it.
Yep.
One thing that is going to hit us Monday is RM reforms are coming out, so that's either going to make life a lot easier or a lot harder, but we don't know until Monday, so that's good. Tyre.
Just following up on what Jake said, the work will not be wasted, because even if stage 1 goes ahead of the panel, we will need a case to take to that panel.
Tyre?
Got it. So just on scenario 2, just for clarity, so like a greater Christchurch urban area, I mean, are you envisaging that would take in the whole of Selwyn, Hollis, Bolus? I mean, that would mean Arthur's Pass would suddenly be in Christchurch City.
Yeah, no, we're considering the urban areas.
Right.
So what that looks like on a map,
right.
Can't say right now.
Right.
Banks Peninsula goes to Selwyn though, wouldn't it?
Is this PX?
No, we can. The way we're looking at it is it would be an urban metro.
Right. But I mean, Selwyn and Waimak could tell us to get stuffed, couldn't they, as well, equally? They could say, oh, stuff you, we're not interested.
Yeah, that would be part of the process, is engaging with them and seeing what we can put on the table.
Yeah, interesting. Okay.
Depends how much you upset them, Tyrone. Tim.
Thank you. Just is there going to be any compensation from central government with regards to the work that's required for this? It is actually something that should be brought out into the public, because Three Waters, all this, councils are taking on a huge amount of financial burden. We're also removing council staff from their day job, so to speak, to a day and evening and afternoon and night job, and there is a cost to that. So whilst government sit there telling us about red tape and the costs, central government, that is, irrelevant of the party, it's central government, we should be airing that with our ratepayers, so they're aware of that. The second one is, when Three Waters came in and we were given the option or the example of the Scottish Water, but no downside, so it's a sales pitch, let's be honest. Do we have the opportunity to look at lessons learnt, say from Sydney or Melbourne or whatever, as they've grown, how they have worked? And I know they have a slightly different government, they have central government and federal, etc. But we do need maybe to have a look at other examples of how that's been done.
Yeah, we absolutely would be doing that, both in the assessment of the options, but also any implementation lessons that we'd need to consider as well along the way.
Because we did in the 1990s, didn't we? We absorbed all the little councils became Christchurch, so there may be lessons there as well. Thank you.
Beauty.
We are very mindful of how much Auckland cost. So the Auckland model and the Auckland Commission was very expensive, and the move to actually implementation was hundreds of millions. So what we put forward needs to be cost effective and not too costly in its transaction costs.
Could we be very clear in all the documentation to the public, the costs? Because we don't want our public to turn around and say, or our ratepayers to turn around and say, bloody council again. It's actually being forced, and for the merits that are irrelevant, it is here, it is being discussed, just like rate keeping, but we need to let people understand there is a cost. Thank you.
Mark?
Thank you. A couple of, entities that I wonder whether they would help us lead into this. Greater Christchurch Partnership is kind of down that metro super city already. And the other one that comes into mind is the Canterbury Regional Landfill Joint Committee. It's sort of as a wider group around the landfill, obviously, but brings in the likes of Hiranui and Ashburton, whether that might be a couple of models to keep in the thoughts around this.
Thank you.
And lastly, Samuel. You done? You all right? Aaron?
Yeah, bigger isn't always better. And I just, from the people on my side of town, we're more than happy to de-amalgamate and go back to Waimari. So just throwing it out there. Cheap.
Think of that.
Rates will be miles cheaper.
Okay. Thank you.
Send the money truck over again.
Thank you very much for bringing this to us. I know it's been foremost, and there's going to be a hell of a lot of work going forward. And it's good to see the government are looking to give me something to do in my spare time. So, no, looking forward to the next chapter. So well done, guys. It's great. Thank you.